Hello, we want to welcome you to our show today, the Sunnyside Community Voice. We're back in the studio again today, and today we're going to do something just a little bit different. We're gonna reflect back on a show that we had earlier in the year on role models for our young black males. Today on our show, we're going to have Robin Bennett, my co-host, from Robin's Haven of Hope. And then we have Mr. Philip Paul Bryant with us today, a young man that we're going to let him tell you a little bit about himself, but I was very impressed with his background. We're kind of focusing on our young black males because out there we want to make sure that we set the right example for the males that are out there. We want to make sure that we present good people before them to let them know that you don't have to stay in a rut, that you can move forward, that you can come from humble beginnings and rise to the top. And we want them to know that there are people out there that can help them in that direction. So today it's just a little bit of different than what we've been doing. We're just going to reflect back because when we did that show, we had a father who took care, who raised his own children, and then we had our pastor here, which by the way is not here with us today. We want to let him know that we do miss him today on the show. He spoke on how he raised his 6 children. These were positive. We want to present positive people to it. So right now we're gonna ask Mr. Bryant to tell us a little bit of something about himself as we get into this discussion today. Mr. Bryant.
Thank you, Miss Shirley. Miss Robin, it's good to see you ladies this morning. Thanks for having me on the show. A little bit about myself. I'm Philip Paul Bryant, business owner. Of course, I'm a community organizer. Under that community organizing umbrella, I have a community talk show, just as yourself. It's called The Host with Philip Paul Bryant. There's a nonprofit organization called Community First, which we focused on projects within our community to make sure that children have school supplies, to make sure that people have jobs, people have assistance, whether it be food or income. I sit on an advisory board for a company called Near My Project, reentry program for people who have offended a system, people with ex-felonies. There's a company called Hero, which oversees a school in the Haitian community. So under that community umbrella, we're able to just dive in and just see what we can actually do to help people. I'm the middle child of Prince and Yolanda Bryant. My father's a pastor, and so I'm accustomed to doing things in the community and doing works in the church. And I think that's been my calling. And so being a community advocate for the people, for the community, is second nature. It's something I enjoy doing. And I'm just getting warmed up.
Well, it's good to have you here with us today because you are a young man. You like I say, you started from humble beginnings with, in the church,
Right.
and you've branched out into the community and you do community work. And what we would like to discuss today is we got so many young men out there that can't seem to find their way. They feel like where they are right now is where they're going to always be,
Right.
and they don't feel like they can move any further. We were talking on the way here, and I told you that our pastor always makes the statement that by 30, you should know what you want to do,
Right.
and you should be headed towards higher things after 30, not sitting and waiting. You
Right.
should already have built some kind of foundation
Absolutely.
to move forward. And we want to continue to focus on our young black men, and we're not forgetting the ladies too, because we do they need guidance too. But I'm from the old school that the man is head of the house, and if we are to get our young men to be head of the household and to be leaders, then we need to present positive stuff before them, so they can do that.
Right.
And my thing is if they can see that someone as yourself can start you know, from humble beginnings and work up to where you are now, they need to know that that can happen for them too. Don't you agree with me, Robin?
Yes, Shirley, I agree with you 100%. And I like to say thank you, Philip, for joining Miss Shirley and myself today. And I think your story, as you was explaining to Miss Shirley and I, what the young people need to hear from you, how you were flipping burgers, because now flipping burgers is a sin, but you flipped a burger that flipped you into success.
Yeah, it's not cool to come around smelling like grease and fries and egg rolls and stuff like that. But you're absolutely right. I think there's a situation now where a lot of young men and even young women grew up in a broken house home. When I say broken house home, meaning there's not a father and a mother that's in place to help guide that child through that adolescence age. I grew up in a house with a fellow named Prince Bryant, as I stated before, and he ran a pretty tight ship. We were required to be at bed when he said it was time to go to bed. It wasn't negotiation. It wasn't a democracy. We didn't vote on it. When dinner was called, we all sat around the table. We were required to have on shoes, bottoms and tops, dress ready to eat, the meal that was prepared for us. We said grace. We read scriptures. This was our family time. And so looking back 40, 50 years ago, there was a sense of community within our neighborhoods and within our areas. And so even if there was a situation perhaps where there wasn't a father or mother in the home, the neighbors or the relatives a couple of blocks over was able to help fill in some of those gaps. Now there's a lot of busyness going on in our lives. 2011, there's gym memberships. People don't even take the time to walk around the neighborhood anymore. They want to exercise. They go to a 24-hour fitness. People don't go outside and cook anymore. They go to fast food restaurants. And so there's just there are results that we're looking at that we haven't properly identified the cause of it. I mean, we're reaping some of the things that are going on, and we didn't realize that was going to be an issue when we started out. Who knew that, you know, buying a new car would force a mom or a father to have to work overtime at a job, and now that helps spending less time with their children or with their family. You know, you just wanted a nice vehicle, or you wanted to stay in that better house. Well, there's that's going to be an effect somewhere to that cause.
But I hear you say, and I listen that you talk about how your family life was, and oh God, that's ideal. That's ideal. We would want all of our family lives like that. But there are mothers and there are fathers out there, because we dealt with the young black man who helped raise his children. Maybe did not have mom and dad there. I want to make sure that I let these moms know that you can do it. You can have that same structure. You may not have mom and dad in the house, but you can still have those same values that are in the house. Right. It would be ideal that every child would have mom at the younger age, and like you, that would have mom and dad in the house, and would set the ground and would set the rules, and it all would be followed. But in this day and age, in the wake of divorces, that I mean, you know, you're married today, and then a year later you're divorced and you got kids. So now you've got mom and dad, you've got the house split. So what you want to do is that you can still have those same values, but you don't have the mom and the dad thing. It would be ideal for everyone. I came from a broken home. My mom and dad was not in the house together, but I had a grandmother and I had an aunt that set those ground rules for me, you know, without the mom and the dad being there. And you're so right about the community.
Well, I think to piggyback off what you're saying, Ms. Shirley, I think it's just having a sense of family.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
The children are going to learn something.
Yes. Yes.
It just depends on who's going to teach them that thing that they're going to learn. Is it going to be your television? Is it going to be their friends at school, their peers, something that they saw, you know, in a mall? Or is it going to be their parent that's going to take the time to say, hey, this is who we are. This is your legacy. This is our family name. This is what we believe. And so I think it's just a matter of whether there are two parents in the house or if there's just one, someone taking the time to give that child that identity and that purpose.
Exactly. And the churches are so important.
Oh.
You know, the church is just so important. You know, like I was telling you, if you get that foundation at home and then you leave the home and you get that foundation at church, it is just so important, and the churches can do so much. You know, they're you know, the teaching of the church and the kids in church, it can be such a blessing.
And parents have to be an advocate for churches as well. When you study economics, you put as much attention on what you're not doing. It says what you care about. And so if parents aren't in the home saying, hey, read your Bible every night, well, you're telling that child indirectly that this Bible isn't important. Because if you're telling them, clean up your room, and not read your Bible, do your homework, you're telling that child that clean up the room must be the most important thing that I should be doing. Or whether that's changing the channel on the television for me. You know, my parents used to call us in from other rooms to change the channel. That was back when we had just a little knobs.
Have the remote. You didn't have the remote. You didn't have the remote control. And Robin, you were raising, you know, you're raising your kids, and you know, and at home, and you have to give them a good foundation.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know that you're working to give them that. And you have a young man. I hear you talk about D all the time, and I want to commend you with him because he does a lot of work, and I want D to know that we appreciate the B. I keep saying B. We appreciate the work that you help us do. So you're giving him a foundation.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you want him to grow into that.
Yes, ma'am.
That young man.
Yes, ma'am.
That's going to be a good father.
Yes, ma'am. A good husband too.
A good husband, a good father. If he doesn't make it to be a husband, he can still be a good leader.
That's right.
That can lead somebody in the right direction.
That's right.
So.
Well, she's also showing that child, Mr. B, because every time I'm on the phone with her, okay, I'm going to have B get on the computer. But she's also showing him what they're about. And he'll be able to carry on her legacy or her business as train a child the way they should go when they grow older.
Exactly.
That's my purpose. That's my purpose. And I want to iterate on something too, Miss Shirley and Philip. To me, I came from a household where my mother had me as a single parent. She had me and my sister at a very young age. My grandmother was my basis, but we were a unit back then. Back then, a family was a unit. Miss Shirley's grandmother helped my grandmother helped her grandmother. The church helped us. We was raised as a unit. And until we get that family unit back, number one, we got to put prayer back. Prayer must come back. If we put prayer first, America itself would be just great. You cannot take prayer out of anything. Without God, we're nothing. And that's what's wrong with our children. We're not, before we left home, we prayed. Right, Miss Shirley?
Exactly.
At school, we said the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer next. But then Madeline O'Hara, she came along, so we had to quit saying the prayer. But you see what it led to, disaster. Without prayer, it will be disaster. And our children need to be praised upon. We need to iterate. We need to be parents not just to our children, but to other children. Like other kids we meet, like the kids that walk the block with me at Miss Shirley's STEM Church. Now, those kids are a part of me. Those kids felt that love for me. I showed them back. So now they're part of me, too. We got to reach out beyond my kid B. I got to make some more B's, D's, C's, and F's to be successful young men.
Listen, I got one of my best whoopings as a child because I went and said something to my neighbor. My neighbor told me to do something. I was just like, you're not my daddy. I had a daddy. And my neighbor went and told my daddy what happened. That was a wrap. I remember that.